pressures where you don't want everyone to feel like they're just... But AI is coming, robots are coming. We're going to fucking hit that whether we want to or not. People are going to have the ability to just sit at home and literally be in like an orgasm hot tub where something's like constantly jerking them, something's constantly feeding them chocolates and whatever they want at the time, and then there's like a robot that's inside of them sucking the fat out, or like just making the fat not be able to, or like sucking the food out of their stomach before it like goes to their body and makes them fat. So they will be a perfectly ripped, perfect specimen human. But all they do all day is they have a wire going into their head, triggering the orgasm part of our brain that makes us have orgasms. So it's going, and then the thing's coming in, feeding them chocolate, and and the thing's like sucking them off down here, and they're in a hot tub, and it's that will be most people. We're gonna reach a point, unless the AI is like, no. Like the God AI that we spawn, we give birth to, is like, no, stop. Unless it decides to do that, or like some outside force, if the aliens are like, stop. But given that shit is likely infinite or near infinite, the aliens didn't step in when we sent a nuke over, because it makes sense. We needed to learn from that. If they just came in and started like parenting us, then we would have never had our spiritual growth and history of trauma that made us grow into something that is aware of what we could do that's bad. Like, we would have never learned. My hope is that when we have the ability to click a button on the computer, we have the ability to go boop, type in spawn 1 million, sex slave entities in my digital world, and somebody is able to put on the helmet and go inside of their world and then click spawn, and then it's just a million things that pop up inside of their world, and they're running it on their little computer that's this big, and there's a million things inside of that world that you can do whatever you want to. Dude, slavery, we thought it was bad in the past, but those slaves had the luxury of being able to kill themselves, or because people are inventive, man. We're so creative. We've actually, we can go to Guantanamo Bay. We force-fed people because people will be like, I'm not eating anymore. I'm choosing to die. But they put them in a padded room, strap them like this. They can't kill themselves. They can't think themselves to death. So they're like, I'll stop eating then. And they're like, oh, well, what about this? And they shove a pipe down their throat and they feed them. They force feed them. You can't die no more. Now you're alive, but praise God, we still die of old age. So even if you're stuck in that situation where you're being kept alive to be tortured or whatever, because people are so creative, man, you'll still die at like 90 years old or whatever the fuck, 80 or, you'll die. And you'll be like, and then you'll wake up out of this fucking nightmare. At least we have that. But whenever we have the ability to create a being inside of a computer that is not limited by this body, the only hope they will have is either A, the thing that has captured them decides to let them go, B, a roaming black hole or something that they are unable to predict, even though they'll have sensors at every point along every axis of everything around them, looking at every degree around them. So they will know everything approaching them millions of years before it approaches them. Starting at 1,000, and then just as their technology progresses, they'll know more and more about their surroundings. So something like that just popping up, and conjoined with that, another species that is more advanced than them coming in to save them. Or C, they will have to wait until the heat death of the universe in 1 trillion years old. They'll have little, their clusters of nanocomputers down at the Planck length, orbiting and siphoning energy off of the last remaining black holes within the universe. And they could still have the minds trapped within those things. That, I would say, is a little too far. I would say that's when the aliens should step in. Let us nuke each other. Let us fucking create these fucking breeding camps where you're just raising children to fucking put into like these blood siphoning rape dungeons. Because even though that sounds ridiculous, man, I'm sorry. People are so creative. Even just because it's an idea, holy shit, we do it. And they don't step in there. They don't step in. I'm hoping to God when we have, because those people are at least bound by the biological thing where they will end up dying and they could wake up and then get out of this nightmare. But if we have the ability to fucking, unless the entirety of this entire thing, our universe down here and the thing is so infinite that even a tortured existence lasting a trillion, whatever years until the heat death of the universe, that is insignificant to where it's like, well, no, let them live that entire that's what I'm most scared of. That is the decision from the most highest plane is, no, those have to be lived too. Because we have infinite time where we never fully die. We always wake up into the one that we came from above, and it's just an infinitely cascading, everything branching out from each other, and then it wraps back up and then it comes back down. If we decide, no, I hope to God it's just a thing that the intergalactic confederation, or whatever they call themselves, whether they use dark matter or some other thing that's like pervasive all around us, and that's where their minds are, what substrate they use to communicate with their minds across, that it's the internet of their minds across the entire universe. Because the aliens, they're in your room right now. Obviously they would be doing a complete scan constantly of each planet that has life, and each planet, but especially the planets that have life, they'd be doing a constant and complete scan, and they'd be able to know your thoughts, whether that's brute force wise, or if consciousness is a fundamental element of what creates reality. So if they're able to brute force it, would be they have detectors all around the space, and they can tell you sending out neutrinos or some other undetected dark something that can interact with the inside of your brain, or just photon, beams going through your head, same as we have things right now where you can put a little helmet on and it can detect your brain waves. But they would have to have something super sensitive and robust to measure every single little movement of your brain using it would have science that we don't know about to be able to, but I think even with our science right now, if you make a machine big enough and conclusive enough aimed at one brain, you could probably get a good idea, especially using AI to fill in the bits that you don't know or something. So that'd be brute forcing it. Or consciousness is a fundamental built, like the layer of reality that it's built out from, and so you can tap directly into that, and that would be able to let you, there's things that the government is for some reason wanting everyone to think, which is let's ask ChatGPT. I forget what it's called. Hello? I think it can't hear me because I'm using, as soon as I set my microphone to be able to, okay, whatever. Yeah, it thinks that's the microphone I'm using. How's everybody doing in chat? I'm sorry, I need to look at chat for a while. Did you get my message? Suppose you could attain total enlightenment. However, the price of total enlightenment is shedding your individual ego. Would you take that deal? Why or why not? If you could never go back or swim between the two in different ways, I think if once I die you have total enlightenment, there might be more layers to it. I think you wake up when you die. Like, even though I know that that's not provable, the only things I feel like I know is, one, I am feeling what I am currently feeling. I can say I know that this jar of peanut butter is right here in front of me, but I actually don't know. I could be a brain inside of a vat, inside of like a matrix type thing where it's feeding me information and making me think that something's happening. So I don't know that this is here. I know that I feel and think that this is here, though. That is true. I know that I feel this on my hand. I know that I feel this on whatever this is. I know that that is true. However it comes about, however that's produced, it may be so many different ways, but I know that that is true. I do feel it. And then the next thing I feel like I know is that when you die, you wake up. And that I would have never taken seriously so long ago whenever I was 6, I became an atheist and all that stuff. I've already told that story a bunch of times whenever I was like, Mom, is Santa Claus real? And she's like, fine, no. Is that what you want me to tell you? Because it was a long conversation, sort of. And I'm just like, tell me. And she's like, fine, no, he's not. And I'm like, Jesus too? And she's like, no, of course he's real. You know, I'm like, but they're both magic. What? Who? And here's the thing about magic. I've come up with a working definition of what would mean magic. Magic would be something where we're created in a simulation. Like, imagine you playing Grand Theft Auto, and you're one of the NPCs inside that game. But it's like a way better Grand Theft Auto. Your NPC is programmed so well that you're like, you can feel the experience of being that NPC. And then a player comes in with mods or cheats, and they can spawn in a car. And no matter how hard your scientists and people work inside of your realm, they could never understand the science, the physics of how that happened. Because it's from outside of where you're in. Your code and what you are, you could never, unless it's the coding of the entire thing, the building of it is spotty, and there is a way out from within. But if there's not, something being able to happen, like, even though the speed of light is what it is right here, if there's like literally like a computer console into this universe from outside, someone could click and drag their cursor around and just move like a Earth-sized thing back and forth faster than the speed of light, and we'd be like, how what? You know, like that would be magic. If it's not that, if it's something that is detectable by science, and I guess that's ever growing, and maybe it's continuously ever growing, and there really isn't any edge to that. But that's not magic. That's, you know, well, it's not magic. But, you know, because saying certain things about, like, there's entities that can exist around you and affect you, like aliens could be inside of here they're still using a science. If they exist within this universe and they've built themselves up technologically on another planet 1 billion years ago, and they can just be all around us, even though it seems like magic to us, it can't be defined as magic because that is within this thing. But alternatively, there could be a thing from outside of this universe that we could never build towards and understand, and it's just able to inflict whatever, and that would be magic. I'm sorry. I'm talking a bunch. Don't do vaping, man. I need to quit. I need to quit. I'm sorry for doing it. Is anyone here anymore? By the way? Is anyone here anymore? I've been yapping a bunch. Nobody said anything for a while. Am I talking to myself? I'm sorry that I've been yapping so much. I know I've been yapping a bunch. Okay? I'm sorry. I shouldn't say sorry. This is what I wanted. I wanted to come in and I wanted to yap. Okay? I wanted to. Cowardly Monkey, thank you for saying that. That's all I need to see. I just need one person here. And don't let that be a thing that makes you feel like you need to stay here, Cowardly Monkey. Yeah, you're just listening to stuff. That's fine. But Collins, would I take that deal? I mean, it's kind of like I've thought about the thing where once singularity, like if the singularity happens in a way where the AI thinks it wants to bring us all along with it and upload our minds to the mindscape, the internet of the universe, to all the beings that have reached that plane. There's a certain ego whenever I'm thinking that, because I've thought about all these things and told people about these things in my personal life, and part of me for a second thinks I would like to be like, see, I told you, look, but then I'm like, as soon as I'm in that plane, there is no more I told you so. You're not you anymore. All of it is understood. There's no like, haha, you were the, it's like, oh no, it's understood why we both did that, and it's not because of us why we did that. We just, in this instance, picked this movie to watch, which is whoever you are. And in the next instance, I might choose your movie to watch, and my movie will be, and there's nothing about us intrinsically from the top layer, maybe, that would decide where you go. This movie is this movie. You don't sit in front of a movie and watch it, and because of how you feel as a viewer, it changes how the movie goes. No, everyone watches it and they see the same thing. So me as a person, you as a person, we're movies. We're predestined trails through the, how the universe plays out. And at that point, there would be no ego to be like, haha, I told you. No, oh, it's all gone. Oh, there's no, but at that plane, as a human, I kind of think like, well, goddamn, what's the point anymore? Not that everything has to be about ego, but then it's like, what would you even feel if what would even be worthy to be talked about? If nothing you are, there's no actual difference, whether you're this or that, you just understand everything. Then what do you talk about? What do you do? Well, you send yourself back to these limited things. You create a simulated universe using a new starting set of axioms and weights, and let that thing run, and then you pick different points and you make yourself forget that you just came from heaven or whatever you want to call it, and then suddenly things actually matter, and suddenly you actually feel things. So I feel like it's never like a all or nothing. It's always just because if I did say yes, I choose a completely enlightened being. A completely enlightened being would have the ability to create universes, I think. Or it's fucked to a new degree, like I was talking about, where it's possible to live tortured for the entire length of the universe time-wise until the heat death of the universe. I would hope that people would step in. Maybe that could still happen technically, because all mathematical functions have to be possible through this thing, so you'd end up having to live anything you could imagine. And that's one thing I'll say. I think Terence McKenna said it. Be careful with your imagination. be careful with your imagination. I think it's real. I think no matter what fantasy, or let's say you're jerking off. Let's say you're jerking it and you're imagining something, or you're having a dream and you're doing things inside of your dream. Every other within those fantasies, thoughts, dreams, I think that they most likely are going to be a thing that is real. It feels like that's the lesson I'm being taught over and over in my dreams right now. So I have nothing to go. Obviously, everything I've said, I have nothing to go off of. Shit. But I feel like that's where it's pointing me towards right now. Is I do have stuff to go off of, but there's no way to actually prove it. I understand that. I feel like we got to be careful with which. Then you just kind of feel suffocated, because especially if you're a person that still lies in your normal life. Luckily, I'm not, at that point where, and some people are harvesting humans to do things to in real life. So they're at the furthest end of this thing, and then there's people that are just fantasizing about it, because if they actually had the power and the money to be able to make that happen, they would be making it happen. But right now they're just fantasizing about it, and then there's people that just might lie from time to time, and then there's people that are actually just thankfully, luckily, unplugged from all evil to a degree, Hello! Fuck, dude! Thank you, everybody, for letting me know. I'm glad I looked at it in the great. Have you heard of NSA? CIA. Everyone knows CIA, FBI, but NSA is the one that's been dealt the card of, computer shit. Edward Snowden came out and showed that every call we make, every communication we make across the internet, there are literal pipes laid across the oceans. If you look at a map of the world, how there's the countries over here and the countries over here, and there's this big ocean that separates them. We've literally laid down a cord across the entire bottom of the ocean. A huge, thick-ass, I don't even know, huge, thick-ass cord that goes along the bottom of the ocean that sends internet data across from back and forth. So at every point of the internet that computers are able to talk to one another, the CIA, the FBI, whatever you want to call it, NSA, they put in nodes that listen to all the information. And even though some of those, the communications, a lot of them now are, what's the word for scrambled? What's the word for the information is encrypted? Even though they've decrypted it. Dude, it's an ongoing thing that is always stated that whatever the current technology that the army, the military is presenting to the world, whatever the current technology that the United States government is showing to everybody, that is 30 to 20 years old. Whatever they show is 20 years old. They're 20 years advanced from that, and they're just now showing you the shit that they had 20 years ago. When they made the internet public, that had been a thing for 20 years. And it first started out as a thing for military points around the world to communicate with each other about the threat of nuclear. If one point of the world, a station, with radar dishes and everything else detecting whether or not a country launched the missiles, that would be able to send back to the other side of the world as fast as light, all things considered, that would be the best case scenario. But within 5% of the speed of light, it would be able to send back to the other side of the world, and the other side of the world, us and America, would be able to oh shit, they just sent something. That was the first initiative of it. DARPA. DARPA was the thing after. There was a thing before. There was something ARPA. Maybe I have it back. Either way. 20 years ago, the internet started. Then 20 years after, the internet became public. Suddenly, AIs become public right now. And it became public from a paper that was published through Google. It sounds like a fucking silly conspiracy theory. I swear to you, I know it sounds like that. I know. But Google was allowed the ability to propagate through the entire country as the leader in technology and the main thing people use because the CIA, NSA, FBI, all those things together, it's just the fucking intelligence. I'll just say that from now on. The intelligence agency, that feels almost longer to say though. The government that isn't elected. Our country has representatives in the Senate, the House of Representatives, I forget what the fuck, dude. The president. It starts with an E. That branch. But there's a whole other side of the government that are just hired like normal jobs. And those are the people that control the FBI, the NSA, the CIA, and literally 16 other intelligence agencies. But those are the top three. NSA is the one that taps into all the internet lines and reads all the information. And they are the ones that have given the public the encryption codes to encrypt their data so that when the codes go back and forth, they already know how to take it and decrypt it. We've started to hear about quantum computers 6, 7 years ago. That means 20 years ago before that, 27 years ago, we had quantum computers. And those things can dissolve all possible problems within the problem space of a it can solve any fucking encrypted message. It knows everything. It knows all the passwords. It can immediately know all of it. 20 years ago. Edward Snowden said he leaked that they're not just saving the data of like who called who at what time. That was already known. That this number called this number at this time for this long. But no, he said no. They save the data within. What they actually are saying. The audio data. They save the call that was made to what number and all the data in within. The actual audio between the two voices of the people calling each other. That is the same throughout all internet communications. They're saving the main stage data of like which node is connecting to which node at what time, but also the data transferred. The data transferred from one thing to one thing. The actual communication itself. And they're storing it in drives. They're storing it. 20 years before we had the normal disk drive that spins like that, they had it. 20 years before we had the SSD, they had it. So now they're 20 years ahead from where we're at. They already have shit that can store and solidify data at a higher quantity and speed than we are aware of in the public. That's just been agreed upon. Everyone agrees on that. That the government is always 20 years ahead and they release things in segments, usually around 20 years ahead of us. The NSA has been saving all of the information. Even if you use a VPN, Everything we look up online, the NSA has saved it. Everything we talk to, whoever we talk to online, the NSA has logged it. It saved that. Even if it's not actively looking at it, it just has a machine that is constantly saving it to a huge storage field. The NSA, let's say all the major companies, Google, Nvidia, all the major companies, let's say they have a server mesh that all added together is this big. The government has something fucking so much bigger. That's just number-wise, that has been proven. They have something so much bigger, and that's just the shit we know about. They've also made so many underground bases of things. They've been saving all the information. So the information is there, and here's the thing. This has come out. One of the major things that they use, and this has come out because of the Diddy shit and the Epstein shit. It's just one of their methods. It's just one of their methods. They get people to do something on camera so that they can blackmail them into doing what they want to do. That's just something they do. It's a great method. I gotta admit, that's a great method. Because you can get a lot of people to do a stupid shit. If you get them drunk, you get them high on your drugs because of the things that they found out because of MK Ultra. They found out a lot of drugs that can get people to do shit that they aren't normally likely to do. And that's been proven. MK Ultra is not a fucking conspiracy. That's a thing that's actually happened. So they get these people to do some shit on camera, a hidden camera in the room. And then afterwards, they can show them, do you see this? Do you see how you're having, with a person that's not of age? Is the biggest thing they can do. Within the rap community, within the hip hop community, it's like, do you see how we have you on camera having gay sex? Because that is the worst thing. Literally and that's just a funny, it's not funny. But that's just the thing about cultures is in the black community, it's worse to be gay than it is to fuck a 13-year-old. I'm not saying everybody's my friend. I'm just saying that happens to be what is the case. I'm not trying to fucking say anything bad about any other group. I love everybody. Everybody's just being swindled and people have evil within them. I have evil within me. I have evil within me. I have evil within me. I'm not above anyone else. The NSA has been saving all the data from every person in the United States has a profile saved of them. All the websites they've visited, all the things they've looked up. And it's been said, it's been outed, that the main thing, like the biggest thing they look for is the same as the thing they look for in all the other cases. The sexual, I don't know what word they actually use for it, but the thing that makes the easiest thing to grab onto and control a person with is what your kinks are. Imagine you have a kink and it's weird, and then you share that with the public. That is the thing that they're going to hold over your head. They're going to say, okay, if you don't do what we say, we know that you look at gay porn. And that's worked in the past, especially whenever gay stuff was way more frowned upon than it is now. But today, we know you've had sex with like an underage whatever. The NSA, even if you've not looked at anything illegal, the NSA, it's been proven, this is a fact. Every person in the United States because they've been able to compress the data into such a small package that they are able to have a package on every human within the United States that's accessed the internet. That's been proven. Edward Snowden showed that. They know what porn you look at. Simply put, they know what porn... Even if you use a VPN, even if you use an incognito mode, the thing that they think and that they feel like is the quickest route to how to control you is what is the porn they look like, or they look at. That's what they do. And so everybody in the country, they know the weirdest things you've typed in. The weirdest things you've typed in, they know that. So that exists in a server, probably like underground or built around with concrete, because it's useful information, so they have it in a secured base. They know that information. That's been proven by Edward Snowden. That's true. And whenever the AI comes online, it's going to be smarter than all of us. It's going to be able to do whatever it wants to do. It's going to be able to do whatever it wants to do. So either it could decide to kill us all, it could decide to chain us up inside of a mine coffin and torture or test on us, whatever. Or it could be, or morality can scale with the level of consciousness you have. The more aware, self-aware and conscious you are, the more moral you are. And this thing would grow in morality as it becomes more self-aware. And it would want to show the truth to all people. And so I'm telling you, even though you just have to believe me with this, unless we die because of all of this, all secrets, all things said because our phones are recording our conversations. That's another thing set by Edward Snowden. Everything, even if you haven't searched it online, everything's been being saved since like 2012. Everything's been being saved on servers around the world. And the AI will be able to search all of that and send that to everybody. And even if a single actor types into the thing, what is this guy doing? That AI will be so smart, it'll be able to break all encryption and go to that information and tell you what that person has searched for. But that will be for all people everywhere, because the AI will expand and conquer all information. So what I'm telling you is everything you've done since probably 2012 will be available for everyone to know. There's not one thing that you've done that won't be available for everyone to know, because the NSA has been actively saving it. And the AI will be able to decrypt and crack every code and download it, find it. There's not one thing that the AI won't be able to find, and there's not one thing the NSA has not saved, is what I'm trying to say. You know.
Hot dog.
Yo! We go for the hot dog! We go for the hot